Hello, everyone. Good to see you again. Excellent. Got quite a few people on today. So we're going to talk about financing deals today, not the mechanics of going out and speaking to people and this type of thing. I'll touch a little bit on that. But this is more about how you can explain to an investor what it means to them as an increase on their current percentage that they may be getting and that type of thing. Now, I understand that some of you may not understand any of this at all, so I'm going to try and make it as simple as possible so I can help you understand in the most simplest way. And obviously, if you need help, you can just catch me later or something like that, send me an email and that type of thing. So this is all about, and in the first instance, getting a deal funded for rent to rent, whether that be service accommodation or HMO. It's all the same concept, if you like, the same basics. And it can also be if you're looking to fund perhaps a flip or something like that, or even an extension on your own property. Funding in anything, if you like, as a private investor, and how you would entice them to work with you based on real facts. So what we will do is I will kick off with sharing my screen, and please let me know that you can see that. Oh, can you hear me? Can you actually hear me? So you should be able to hear me. Can everyone hear me? Just to make sure you can hear me. Somebody said that they can't hear me. Speakers on. Good. We didn't want to go on and on without you hearing, did we? Okay, so here we go. Sorry, Timbo. So can you see my screen now? Yes? Yep, good. Yes, you can hear me. Yes, you can see. Yes, all good. Fantastic. So let's carry on. So as you know, I work with Emmanuel Ezekiel, who I learn a lot from in finance. And obviously he wrote his book about decreasing your debt and the 6 steps to financial freedom and these type of things, right? So some of this is in the book, but it's not so much in the book. So I'm going to give you a clear understanding of how I find it simplest to understand, and that should make you make it nice and simple for you. So interest rates. You need to know a bit about interest rates before you can talk about charging an interest or providing an interest amount of 1%, 2%, 10%, whatever it is you want to provide on the person's money that they're giving you. So just a quick one on interest rates. They affect all of us if we have borrowed or borrow or give some money or take some money. It's kind of, if you like, hiring money. And that's how you got to look at it. So if you go to a bank and you say, look, I would like £1,000, please. And they say, no problem. You can hire the money. However, you're going to need to pay me 2, 3, 4, 5% interest on that money over the next 12 months, if it's a 12-month period. So think of it like that. Don't think of it like an interest rate. Think of how much is it going to cost me to hire that money for the next 12 months. Or if you're looking to set up multiple rent-to-rents, and you may have enough money to fund 1 or 2, considering they may be a total of £6,000-7,000 to set each one up, including deposits or whatever it might need to be, and you've found a deal, and it's an amazing deal, and it could be a block of 3 or a block of 4 in a flats in a block, which is what we like because we can create an apart hotel. So then you say to yourself, okay, I need £28,000, considering that, assuming they're £7,000 each, I need to get £28,000 from somewhere, and I need to hire that money over the next 3 years. And I'll show you a simple calculation of how we'll do that, and how we would entice the lender, or the investor, whether it be a bank or private investor or whatever it might be. So we'll show you that, or I'll show you that. So as you can see here, a change in interest rates. Now this will only affect you if you take it on a mortgage or something like that. And when we take on something with a private investor, it's going to be a fixed rate of return on their money. That's what it's going to be. They would consider it an interest rate. You're going to say it's going to be a fixed term over the 3 years to hire your money. It's not going to change from 1%, 2% to 5%, etc. So it's the cost of getting a loan or hiring that money. Good. Percentage charge on the total amount you borrow or save. So the saver in this instance will be the investor. So they know that they can get limited amounts of interest rates or a return on their money in the banks. So even if we offer a small percentage increase, I'll show you how that can be a massive percentage increase. So you can see here, if you're taking on perhaps a loan, and at the moment you may get your loan for your own house for 2%. Now, when it says here it has a big impact if there's a small change, let's assume your mortgage is £1,000 a month, round figures, and you're currently at 2%. If we add an extra 2% to that mortgage rate, will that mean just an extra 2% on the £1,000 a month? Which you'll say to yourself, that ain't a lot of money. No. That 2% goes to 4%. That is doubling. In effect, it's 100% increase. So you're doubling the amount of money that you will now pay per month. See how it works? This is what, when we say a small percentage increase can hurt you, but when most people go for a mortgage, they go, oh, if it goes up to 4%, there's only an extra 2%. They don't understand it's actually double. That's how it affects you. However, the good thing is, with us not taking on a mortgage, we're renting a property, so we don't need a mortgage. What we can then do is turn that around the other way. And as an investor, if you're an investor now, I can say to you, we're going to basically give you a 100% increase on what you're doing now. Although it comes up as a 1 or 2% increase, we're doubling their rate of return. Awesome. So if you're a borrower, the interest rate that you charge for borrowing money, percentage of the total of the loan, you can borrow money to buy something today or pay for it later, which is exactly what we're doing. All right. And again, here, like it says, your interest rate is what you pay for the privilege, i.e. the money. Like hiring a car, you're hiring money. Make sense? That's as simplistic as I put it. If you just think of it as hiring money, that will make it very easy. And it will make you also understand that there is a cost of hiring money, like there is a cost of hiring a car. Now, the banks, how do you think the banks make billions and billions of pounds? Why do you think the government forks out billions of pounds in 2007 and 2008 to save the banks? Well, this is why. Because if a bank is giving you money at 2%, or let's say the Bank of England is giving them money at 2%, as in the Bank of England base rate, and they sell that for 3%, or let's say they get it for 2% and they sell it for 4%, that's 100% increase on their money, not 2%. 100% increase. Wouldn't you like a business like that? Yes. Now you understand why they can fork out all of these billions and they can quickly make back all the money that they put out on, these illegal loans that they did, etc. However, the banks get away with it. Well, they haven't, because they've paid out like 32 billion or something like that. But that is a small drop in the ocean for banks. So the Bank of England, a bit about base rates, they set the base rate. And it's based on tons of factors, really coming down to the world economy, the local economy, etc., etc., etc. Now, at the moment, you're around about 1 point zip on base rates. Now, if the Bank of England suddenly said the base rate will now go to 5%, this is why it's been like it has for over a decade now, because if they were to double that rate, the banks, high street banks, receive that rate, then they have to sell their product on either to a borrower or they pass money on to you as a saver. But we'll talk as a borrower now. So if I'm borrowing money and the high street bank gets a sudden call from the Bank of England saying base rate's gone from 1% to 3%, that's a 200% increase. Not 2%, it's 200% increase. And the banks are like, wow, we're going to have to pass this on. We need to make another percentage point. So all of a sudden, your mortgage may go from 3 to 6%. So you get a 100% increase on your money that you're having to pay, double your mortgage rate. This is how they basically make money from interest rates. And then as a saver, you're getting, pretty much zip. So if the bank were to say, okay, it's 1% base rate, and we need to give savers 1%, we're going to have to get the money from somewhere. We're going to have to make some money, and we're going to get that from the borrower. You've got money sitting in a bank, Mr. Investor. You have £10,000 sitting there. You're getting 1% return on your money before tax. That's £100 a year. £100 a year. And yet if you go to the bank and borrow money from them, they'll say it's going to be 5%. Think of that as an increase. So you see how they make money? Hand over fist. Now, to invest in deals. Now, whether you're an investor right now listening to this, or whether you're looking for an investor, these are the things you need to take into account. If you are somebody who likes to save money, and we spoke about this on the weekend at our course in how to invest like a professional property investor, the average national income at the moment, give or take 1,000 or whatever, is around about £30,000 a year. Now, you like to save money, and over that time, you haven't been frivolous with your money, and you've managed to save £10,000. I can tell you now that whilst that money sits in the bank, yes, you'll earn £100 a year. However, you'll get taxed on that as well at your, basically, the rate that you get paid, that you pay income tax now on your 30 grand if you're in a JOB. So it's not £100. It might be 85 or 80 pounds that you end up getting. Not a lot of money, right? So imagine that over 10 years. Even with compound interest, it might be, 11 grand, 11.5 grand, or whatever it might be. That's not a lot of money, is it? It's shit. So if you're earning 30 grand a year and the average work life span is about 40 years, this is assuming we're still retiring at 65. We may retire a little bit later, but your average work life at the 30K is around about 40 years. You're earning a total of £1.2 million in your lifetime, your work lifetime. That ain't a lot of money, is it? And if you decide, and if you say to yourself, I'm going to live until I'm 80, divide that £1.2 million by 80. If you divide it by 100, you're going to be looking at £12,000 a year. Hardly worth really working for, is it? And then you have this little pension that you have to put away that comes out of your 30 grand. The government will match it, or whatever you do. You'll have your state pension. You might have to live on for the rest of your life, should you be able to retire, for, a couple of £100 a month on top of the state pension. Hardly worth really working for, is it? And you can understand why so many people decide, I'm going to go and live off benefits. Now, How do you fix that? Well, that £10,000 in the bank that you're saving up, and you're and you're living a life of, well, we can't do this, we can't afford that, the kids can't have this Christmas present, or whatever it is. Perhaps you can invest money. And how do you invest money? Well, £10,000 is not a lot of money when it comes to property investment. In fact, it's going to get you very little unless you get trained up and you're educated on how to acquire properties like rent to buy and that type of thing. And then again, that is creating short-term income. However, over the next 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years, you'll start to realize the 50,000, 100,000, the 250,000 pound, £400,000-500,000 windfalls, which is owning a property without putting any money in, or very limited money. So if you're not going to get educated and you think, no, I like my job, I love what I'm doing. However, I would like a little bit more than the 30 grand a year without working for it. So you need to learn, okay, my money sitting in the bank is not going to grow as it is. In fact, it may even fizzle out, because although you're making £100 a year in interest, what you can buy today for £10,000 will cost you more than £10,000 in 12 years' time. So in effect, if it's going to cost 10% more in a year's time than what it does now, in effect, your £10,000 is actually worth £9,000. Savings are a load of bollocks. Savings is something that's created by the banks and the government. Why? Because they want to be able to use and leverage your money that they're paying you 1% for to go and charge it out at 2, 3, 4, 5, 10%. Because on the car loans that you go to, it may be done by Black Horse, which is Lloyd's, whatever it is with Range Rover. They may charge you, depending on your personal circumstances. That's where your APR comes into play. So they get a representative APR. Representative APR, they may say, is 8%. However, the real APR that you get charged based on your circumstances may be 12, 14%. Make sense? Now you understand a little bit APR as well. The advertised rate and the actual real rate. So they are funding your cars out there. So they're giving you 1%, but they're charging you 7, 8, 9, 10, 14% for your car. So is your £10,000 in the bank making money? No, it's going down at a rapid rate. However, the banks are leveraging that money, hiring your money for 1%, the cheeky buggers, and then rehiring that money out for, even if it's 2%, that's a 100% increase. Imagine if they're putting it out at 10%. What's that percentage increase? Thousands of percent. So put your money in the bank or invest it. Create wealth from as little as £100. Now, when I say as little as £100, that's not going to get you investment into a service accommodation apartment. You're probably going to have to look circa £7,000 with everything in. However, what you can do with that £100 is you can start to invest that £100 elsewhere other than in the bank. That's where you can start. And it will compound. Compound interest will mean it will grow exponentially over the next 5 to 10 years. That's how it works. It's how property works. So compound interest basically means that if something is worth £1,000 today, if you have £1,000 today and you invest that in that £1,000 just once at 7% a year, it will be worth £2,000 in 10 years' time. That's if you just compound it at 7%. You double your money in 10 years' time. If you have £10,000, it will be worth £20,000 at the compound interest rate of £7 per year. It'll be worth £20,000. If you invest £100,000 now, and it's a 7% increase year on year over 10 years, it will be worth £200,000. And if you keep adding to it and adding to it, that's how it works. And you can go to like life insurance companies and that type of thing, and you can get these compound interest savings plans. That's how they work. However, if you would want a much quicker return on your money, then investing in rent-to-rent service accommodation or HMOs is definitely the way forward. And let me show you an example of investing that £10,000 that's sitting in your bank right now. It could be in your pension fund. I don't know. It could be somewhere else. You may have £100,000 in your bank and you're deciding, I want to test this £10,000. Now, I'm saying £10,000 because we have a lot of investors that come to us week in, week out, and they say to us, I have £10,000 to invest. No problem. What would you like to do with your £10,000? Well, obviously, I can't buy a property. I can invest, I can get educated, and I can go and do options and rent to buy, all these sort of things, but I want something quickly right now that I can invest in, and I need, what do you have? And I'll say, okay, you can invest in a rent-to-rent property. I have students that I mentor, and I will only ever introduce investors, to people that I mentor. That's the way it is, because I know that you're educated and I know that I have some control over what happens and what goes on. Fair? Hope so. So let's work on 10 grand. As I said, the bank at best will pay you 1% a year less your tax. That's £100 a year that you'll earn, minus your tax, 80, 85 quid, whatever rate you're on. If you're on a higher tax bracket, you're going to lose 40% of that. So you're on like 60 quid or something a year. It's not even worth it. So if you invest in a service accommodation deal, this is a basic broad calculation or example, not even a calculation, it's an example. So let's say I have £10,000 and I want to invest. It's going to cost me £10,000 to invest in this service accommodation because you've decided to take my advice and, have it interior designed and get it to the best of the best, depending on obviously the type of demographic that you're looking for. So that £10,000, I would agree with you. So look, obviously you need to run this property, Mr. Rent-to-Renter or Mrs. Rent-to-Renter or Miss, sorry, to cover all the demographics. Or the other one, what's the other one? Yeah, I don't have a whatever it is. So I would say, well, you need some money to run it. So I tell you what, I'm going to give you 25% of the profits each month. And whilst my initial £10,000 is being paid off, I'll take 75%. You could work 50-50. It's up to you how you want to work it. You could do 50-50 over the entire deal. Now, we're assuming here that in the second year, once the initial investment is paid off, that you're going to go half and half. So you're going to be getting £500 a month of that £1,000 per month assumed profit. It will go up, it will go down, whatever it will be. Summer, you might get your 2-3 grand months. And then in the third year, we're going to agree that, hey, you are the rent-to-renter. You can have 75% and I'll have 25%. And at the end of it, the deal ends. You may even say to yourself, the deal ends at the end of the second year and you take 100% in the third year. It's up to you how you skin this cat, and it's up to you as an investor what you prefer and what you think is fair for both sides. In the third year, it's 100% for the rent-to-renter, and the fourth year and the fifth year, and however long you have those properties. Good? So it's a great way to get into property, if you like, as a rent-to-renter with very, very little money. In fact, zero money in most cases with a case like this. So let's assume that with your little fluctuations for your high months, that £10,000 is paid back in the first year. As an investor and as a rent-to-renter, assuming it's £1,000 a month, you're getting £6,000 or £500 each in profit. Now, as an investor, I'm like, wow, first year, money gets paid back, as in it's paid back in its entirety. Second year, I'm going to get £500 a month for that. And in the third year, assuming the 75-25, as an investor, I'm getting 25% back. I'm now getting £3,000 back. You as a rent-to-renter are getting £9,000. In year 4, you get £12,000. And I say, hey, that was awesome. Can I have another one? In fact, most investors, after their first is paid off, or it could be 3 to 4 months in, they know that it's working absolutely magically. They start throwing money at you like it's cream on a cake, because they have proven, they have seen it works. So the total return is £9,000 on your original £10,000, or a 90% return rate on your money, or an 8,900% increase from the 1% that you're currently getting. It's actually more than that because you actually get less than that. Now, as an investor, I have almost doubled your money. In that same 3-year period, you would have earned less than £300 from the bank. As an investor, is it freaking awesome to invest in rent-to-rent, service accommodation, or even an HMO? Yes. You're nodding. Yes, yes, yes. Now, even if you were to get 3% return on your £10,000, that is in effect a 200% increase. Because if it went from 1% to 2%, you don't say to the investor, and as an investor, you don't think it's only an extra 1%. No, you're doubling your return rate on money. You're doubling it. So if it's £100 and I give you 2%, you're now getting £200. As an investor, I'm thinking, why would I bother, just outlaying that money and only getting double my interest rate back? So we have to say to an investor and make an investor think, right, yes, there is a risk in borrowing or lending anyone any money. However, I'm getting paid back in my first year. Should things falter a little bit, you may get paid back in 18 months. However, it's still a huge return on your money. If you were to get back, £1,000 in that 3-year period over and above your £300, how much of an increase is that? Huge. So as an investor, please don't be greedy. And as a rent-to-renter looking to borrow money, take into account the risk mindset of the investor, and you'll soon find it out by talking to them, and work out a happy medium. It may be that typical deal there, it's not a typical deal, but that example may not work for the particular property. So you need to work out what will work. You may have a different goal that you want to retire from your day job much quicker. So your investment strategy, as in finding an investor and what you offer, may be slightly different. However, I would also always say that get your investor paid back first as quick as possible. And then in that, if you're planning to leave your day job, give it a 2-year period. So in that 3rd year, you're able to. And then you can set up your systems to have it fully managed and automated, and whatever it is that you prefer to do for your own situation. Does that make sense? So if you have funds today and you are an investor, you've seen by the rate of return that we are thousands of % higher than what you currently get. If you want to invest, contact me via email. And that's for you guys here, and for anyone else. Contact me at ashbanfield@gmail.com, explaining your current situation, how much you have to invest, and why you want to invest in one of my rent-to-rent students. It's as simple as that. I'm not going to just put everyone in front of anyone. That's not how it works. You will be interviewed by me, and I need to understand your mindset, what type of return on investment you're looking for, or return on your capital that you're putting in, how much time, this and that type of thing. It may be that you don't want to put the entire amount into a deal. It may be that you want to put in, you've got £5,000, but you love the look of Oxford, Cambridge, Bath, London, or wherever it might be, and you decide, look, I'm happy to go halves with somebody. And I may have a student who's got £5,000, but they need 10, so we can do it that way as well. It doesn't have to be one set way. In fact, if you ever go for a mortgage, every single mortgage is unique because it's based on your current circumstances. That's the way it is. And it's kind of the way that we're looking at it too. So, any questions on that, guys? That help you understand a little bit more? Give you some sort of simplicity to when you're looking to go out and acquire or hire some money for your deals? And if you would like that, it will be in the recording so you can see that. But I'll put some notes in it as well to help you when you're talking to investors. Now, when you're talking to an investor, we never go out and beg for money. Hi, mate. Yeah, I need 10 grand. Can you help? Explain what you're doing. Explain that you're being mentored by me. Explain the entire situation, the property, how you're going to fit it out, what you need, where it is, the location, why it works. Show them the calculation. Show them your business plan. Now you understand why you have a business plan. Show them your business plan. Ask them to read that business plan. Look at the numbers so they understand a little bit more about you, or a lot more about you, and they understand your business in its entirety and how you intend to get funded, and how you intend to return those funds. Good. Now it's exactly the same process or template, if you like, whether you're borrowing £1,000 or £1 million. You would have to do the same for any bank. Now, just on funding, as you can see, using a private investor, it can be quite a bit higher or beneficial to investors. Now, there are other ways, but it may be that you can't get credit. So using private investors with a higher rate, like what I'm explaining there, it's going to take you a little bit long to realize your ability to be able to leave your day job, or you might want to stay in your day, but to realize that total income that you're looking for, whether that be £10,000 a month, £20,000 a month, £50,000 a month, or £500,000 a month, depending on where you go with this and what you do. There are other ways that you can do it. You can get 0% credit cards. However, you're going to need credit. You're going to need to be able to get credit. If you have a house, you can release equity within your property to do this. And releasing £10,000 equity is not hard. If you have plenty of equity, obviously, it's going to be impossible if you're in negative equity, but you understand what I mean. And then you may say to yourself, okay, yeah, I have a decent, I've been doing this now 3-4 years. I have no bankruptcy, or my CCJs have expired, all this sort of stuff. I'm making money. I can actually go to my figures, go to my profit, and you can either borrow money when your company is up and running based on your income, PAYE, dividends, or you can use it based on your retained profit within your company. So if you're retaining property, not spending all of it, you can use that as part of your lending criteria. So you can then go to somebody like there's a great company called Rate Setter. Rate Setter does like 3.5% interest rates on personal loans. You're either going to have some decent income with limited outgoings, as in other debts, or you are going to need to be a homeowner to be able to get that rate. You won't be able to get that with bad credit history, CCJs and whatever. However, that is a great way. Supermarket loans will now go up to, I think, about 40% on that 3%, 3.5% interest rate. Now that's not a lot of money. That's not a lot of money considering what you would be paying a private investor. So there are other ways to be able to go and get that money. Now you could say to an investor, look, I can get 3%. From here or whatever like that. However, I have one CCJ that will be cleared in a year. It's because of some electric bill, etc. Let them know. They want to know up front. Be completely honest. And then from there you can say, look, I'm happy to pay an extra, even if they go to double to 8%, that's a 100% increase on what you were going to pay. So if it's going to cost you £400-500 a month, it's going to cost you £1,000 a month. However, it may be worth it considering what you're going to get on return. Make sense? This is why using the private investor in the way that I've explained in the slide deck there is a much easier way to do it, because you know that the investor, number one, is paid out in the first year, and then number two, you are still getting a cut of those profits, and you have no issue with debts. And what you can do is you can pay that debt through your company, and it shows as a loan and that you're repaying a loan. This again also improves, and the money that comes in to your business account will be put as business loan, and then you would mark it as repaying that business loan, and it will build up your credit history very quickly. And it'll help you borrow from your company in the next 2 to 3 years, or borrow using your company, because you can also actually borrow from your own company. So if you were to say, I've got some savings in there, like I know Sam has, and you say to yourself, it's going to cost me £7,000, I'm going to take £7,000 out of that. So you can actually take it as a loan out of the business and then charge a percentage back to your company on that loan. Nice. So you're earning money in 2 different ways there. Make sense? How do you think the rich get richer? They lend themselves money from other companies, and or they lend other people money. You get to that investment stage. And we went over this on the weekend. Remember, even if you're an investor or you're rent-to-renter, this is pertinent. And it first came up years ago with Robert Kiyosaki, you know, the cash flow. So you have your job where you're swapping time for money. You then, if you want to be a self-employed, you're basically buying a job and you're losing holiday pay and sick pay and all the other benefits. Number 3, you can be a business owner and a system that suits you. And you are a business owner if you're in service accommodation or some sort of property business. You can then leverage other people to work for you, so you make more money. And then from there, you'll have a disposable income or extra income. What would I do with it? We don't want to park it in the bank, as we've gone through. So if you amass 20 grand or 50 grand or even 100 grand, at best you're going to get £1,000 sitting it in the bank. So with that 100,000, you would invest it in something like this. And as you saw, if you put in 100 grand in 1 year, and over the 3-year period, it's going to return you £190,000 over 3 years. Why wouldn't you? Frick, that's excellent money. Awesome money. So, as a rent-to-renter, get out there and use it. As an investor, let's chat. And then what we have here is we have a win-win situation. I have no interest in having an interest in any of these loans, investment, whatever it might be. I do not get paid anything for this. This is me trying to help you as a rent-to-renter and me trying to help you as an investor. That's all. And then we all make money through the same strategy. Nice. Any questions? Yes, of course, you should speak to your accountant, because everybody's situation is going to be unique to others. I can tell you what my accountant tells me to do. However, it's going to be extremely different to what yours may be. You may be much wealthier than me or not. It will all depend on your current circumstances. Okay, so Ash, when taking on multiple apartments, how do you get around the guarantor aspect? For example, if I take on 4 units, the guarantor or investor would have to earn excess of £30,000 of the monthly rental. Therefore, the guarantor would have to earn over £120,000. Take on one at a time. Or, what we've done is there's a little box that you tick, and you would tick other means. and the guarantor would have other means of guarantoring that rent, and that could be via assets, property, vintage cars, or anything else like that. Make sense? I mean, we walked into the agent with Lindsay and James, and I think they needed £190,000 income. So we decided to go down the other means route, and we got it through. Good, makes sense? Again, it's unique. You just got to have that conversation with them. Yeah, no problem. Let's have a chat after the webinar. No problem. Yeah, and just explain that back to the agent, Paul. What I've just said to you, we'll include other means, or we'll do one now. We'll do one in a week. We'll do one the week after, and one the week after that, and one the week after that, if that's what they want to do. Good. And you need to explain, obviously, the return that you're going to get and how you're going to pay for it. They just want to know. Yeah, that's all it is. Like an investor, they just want to know how they're going to get paid back. A landlord is investing in you, as in they're trusting you to rent their property. They just want to know how it's going to be paid for. That's all. Hopefully I'm making this as simple and logic as I can, because I know that if you walked up to somebody who considers themselves an expert in finance, they would just give you the textbook explanations, not really understand in most cases the background of it. Okay, good. So I'll leave you with this, and this is something Emmanuel and I are talking about on the weekend, and it's something that's in his book as well, and it's quite interesting. And he talks about the different decades that we go through. It doesn't matter who you are. This is, whether you're an investor or not, or whether you're a renter looking for investment. In our 20s, when we start earning money, we learn habits about money that we tend to follow and instructs our mindset for the rest of our life. Now, in our 20s, most of us know very little about money, which is where schools fail, because they don't teach us about that type of thing, because the governments don't want you to know. The governments want you to get into debt, because then the banks will pay enormous amounts of tax that they collect basically from you, and so on and so forth. We start earning money, and we either decide to spend it as it comes in, or we can tailor our spending and put a little bit aside for the future. Now, I'm not one to put money aside for the future. I am only interested in investing money for the future. I don't believe in holding money in banks. In fact, when I get to a certain level, the normal mindset out there is, oh, I've got such and such amount of money in my bank account. Don't I feel comfortable? Not me, and nor any investor. They want to know, what can I invest in? Where can I put this money? How can I make it grow? Because at the moment it's doing nothing. It's like we are whipping the money. Out to work, go. No, you go there today, you go there today, you go there, you go there. Why aren't you working today? Why? I'm not paying you if you don't work. Well, guess what? If I don't work, you don't get paid. This is the money talking. So get the money working. And then in our 30s, we start to take on responsibilities, and we'll have a mortgage. We may have a mortgage in the 20s, more so now it's people getting into the 30s. But you'll take on a mortgage, which is good because in a sense your money is growing. However, if you're putting all of your money into that property, you will not realize that money or be able to use that money that's grown for you until you either use the equity or you sell the property for money. And as we said, people sell their houses either to get cash or to pay debt. Cash to invest or pay off debt. So we don't want to get into the situation where we're using our assets to pay off debt. Remember, we only pay debt We only go into debt. We only like debt that is paid for by others. Nice. And then, if you like, we go to our 40s, which some of us are still just. Your responsibilities have increased. You may have children, etc., etc., etc. You are now living a higher standard of living. In a lot of cases, some may go down, some may go up. And you've decided that, hey, I'm living in this street now, in this area, and it's got a few more trees, it's a bit leafy. I have a couple of children. They may be teenagers. They may be younger. They may be older. And now I need to pay for them, which is the more responsibilities. And remember, if the average wage is 30 grand a year, your money is going down super, super quick, super quick. And that's when you start to get credit cards and use credit cards, and you're spending money that you don't have. And then we get to our 50s, and there's either two things. You're either winding down, getting ready to do nothing in the years to come and waste your money on whatever it might be and deplete your nest egg, or spend your pension, so to speak, because you have no other business, no other form of income to create the income. So basically you spend your entire life saving for that last 10 years or 5 years or 20 years, whatever it might be. So you spend your entire life working and saving to spend it in the less prime of your life, if you like. Let's face it, when you're older, you might get a bit stiff, a bit crankier, and need a bit more sleep or less sleep. I think older people need. But you don't have that motivation to go out and do things. So you're getting to that stage where, yeah, I've worked hard and now I can hardly frickin' walk. The government's taken my driver's license off me and I can't fly because of my health or whatever it is. Great. I've got this money sitting in the bank. What am I going to do with it? You need money now. So we could even be scared at this stage because of the way the next generation is going, that there is a limited time scale on a so-called career, that you're thinking to yourself, I may lose my job. And it happens. I may be made redundant, and it happens. So you need to decide on what it is you're going to do and what you're going to do with that money. Now, man, if you have a pension fund, as in a self-funded pension fund, you will need to speak to Emmanuel. He's more the expert on that, if that's what you want to invest, like your SIPs and that type of stuff. He will need to speak to you about that. So if that's something you want to do, we can do that. And the good thing is, service accommodation is commercial property, because most of them will state that you need to invest in commercial property somehow, somewhere. But it all depends on your personal SIP. So, good news. There's lots of good news, both as an investor and as a property investor. Nice. Any other questions? If you need to speak to me after this, please call me after midday. I have a lot of things to do before 12. I don't sit around and do nothing. So we'll chat then. Other than that, thank you. Again, email me, ashbanfield@gmail.com, if you need investment or if you're looking to invest. Other than that, have a great day, guys. Get out there, happy investing. Having investors invest in your business means that you can grow your business. Growth equals wealth. Take care. Have an awesome day.